Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Drums and Drams. My name's Cameron, and today we are live. We are doing a special 30-minute live stream, or something like that, 30 minutes or so of a blind flight that I think is going to be pretty cool. So we're putting Russell's Reserve 15-year to the test up against some other comparable wild turkey products. This is something that a lot of folks have been wondering about. I've been getting a lot of messages. Oh, how does Russell's 15 compare to Camp Nelson F? Or how does it compare to Generations or Russell's 13, different batches? And so hopefully this video, this little kind of mini live stream will shine a light on that for you. Doing this completely blind, I obviously know what's in the blind. It's not a double blind flight, but it's pretty darn close because I've actually never tasted Wild Turkey Generations. This is going to be the first time I've ever tasted it, and it's going to be not knowing which one it is. So it's a little bit of a wild card in the mix. And I also decided to put one other wild card in this blind, which you can see here. It's an older label of the Russell's Reserve Single Barrel, which is 110 proof. What this is, it's kind of an interesting bottle. This is a shelf version of a Russell Single Barrel that I've had for like 5 years. And it was like halfway full. And I had all of these samples of Russell's picks that people had sent me over the years. And I decided I'm never going to get to all of these pick samples. It's just one of those things. Like, when am I ever going to drink 20 different Russell's picks? So I dumped all of them in here. So this is an infinity bottle that I haven't tasted in probably 2 years of various Russell's picks. So I think for me, this is going to be an interesting point of comparison too. It is 110 proof because they're all picks. There's no other turkey products in there. But we'll see if this is also like kind of a spoiler within this flight along with the turkey generation. So let me run down for you everything that's going to be in here. They're not mixed up yet. So we have Camp Nelson F. We have the mystery Russell's bottle I just talked about. We have 13-year Russell's. This is batch 2. So the laser code on this, for those of you who wonder about this kind of thing, LL/JL was batch 2. I picked this one out of batches 1, 2, and 3 because I think it's the most balanced of those. Batch 1 is very, very intense, spicier. Batch 3 has a ton of older stuff in it, so it's super oaky and almost a little medicinal. 2, I think, was a better representation. I don't have batches 4 and 5, so if I had 5, I would throw that in here as kind of the most recent release, maybe the most applicable in this blind. So we got that. We, of course, have Russell's 15, which if you haven't seen my review on the channel, I hope you'll stick around here for the live stream and watch that later. But please check out that review if you haven't already. So we got that. And then last but not least, the Wild Turkey Generations, which I actually don't really know the proof on the Generations. I want to say it's like maybe the hottest thing in the lineup tonight. I'm warming up right now with a Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. This is just for show on the table. This is a 2019 bottling, so 4.5 years old. It's a Warehouse K bottle. So let me say cheers to everybody. I will be checking in with the chat as we move along tonight. I'm not going to do this just 100% ignoring everybody, but I'm going to do my best to kind of move through this and keep this to hopefully about 30 minutes. We did start late, so we might go about 5 minutes later. So cheers, guys. I think someone's blasting some music outside as they drive by. I hope I don't get a copyright strike. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start mixing these things up. I poured all of them the exact same level. I checked every single one of these to make sure that was the case. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a color difference in the Russell's 15 and some of the other ones too. Some are like, medium color. Man, is someone... Yeah, sorry if it's loud. There's someone right outside my house blasting music, I guess. There is a color difference between the 15, between the standard, 110 single barrel pick infinity bottle. I'm going to do my best. If I stay at this angle and I don't look at the, I don't sit and examine them, you can't see the colors unless you hold it up to the light, at least from my perspective. So I just want you to know that, I'm not going to be trying to judge these based on color. We'll do the best we can with all of this. The last thing I'm going to do, now that we're in this order, is I'm going to sticker these glasses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we can keep track of this as we move along in this blind. So please hit that like button if you haven't already. I know it's a lot of setup for this. That's got to be the worst 3 I have ever ever made. Hit that like button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And we've had some amazing growth over on the Patreon thus far. So that is another great way to support the channel, too. So let's start with glass number 1. And let's get into this blind. All right, glass number 1. Very woody, very oaky, but in a younger oak kind of way. This is intensely spicy, intensely cinnamon. Yeah, almost like some citrus notes coming out of the first glass. I'm going to just run this down the line quickly. Just do a quick down the line nosing. All right. David says, Cam, over 8K subscribers. Yeah, we've had like, I don't know, a very good month of subscribers. The Russell's 15 video's doing great, which I'm excited about. We've been putting on like 50 to 70 subscribers daily for the last couple of days, which for this channel is very, very good. All right, so let's just do it. Yeah, this quick down the line nosing first. Glass number 1, again, younger-ish, younger oak, citrusy. Glass number 2. This has a softer oak feel to it, like a more aged, rounded, yeah, like round leather notes in here. It's not particularly funky, I wouldn't say. I really like the nose on glass 2 quite a bit. Okay, glass 3. This also has a little bit of a brighter tone to it, kind of like glass number 1. Yeah. So, let's see. 3 has quite a bit of vanilla to it. But again, this one's very spicy. I'm getting more nuttiness on glass number 3, actually. Jeremy says Generations is 120.8. Okay, that makes sense. Jerry, how does it compare to Russell's Warehouse K Floor 4 specifically? Oh, God, you're asking the wrong guy. You know what I've never done? I have never, ever purchased a Russell's. God, I'm sweating right now. It's hot in this room. I was just out doing yard work, but I did shower, so I don't smell like fresh cut grass, which you guys know I would hate. I've never bought a Russell's Private Barrel Pick, ever, because I knew that once I opened that door, I couldn't close that door. Same thing with Elijah Craig Private Barrels. I bought 2 of them, maybe 3, and I was like, I'm done, because if I keep buying these and searching for good ones, I'm just going to lose a lot of money in the process. So, okay, so far, in the order of what I like on the nose, glass 2 is in the lead, glass 3 is in second, and glass 1 is in third. Let's go on to glass 4 on the nose now. Ooh, I don't know what's going on with this, but I like this nose. This reminds me of glass 2, which I have so far in first place on the nose. Glass 2 is great. Intense, more intense, actually, than this one, glass 4. Wow, 4 is like rich, dense, sweet oak, dark fruits. Okay, wow. It's so far, it's probably a tie between glasses 2 and 4 on the nose for me. All right, on to the last one. Okay, so glass 5. This is rich in a very different way. It's a little bit more like savory dark fruit notes on glass number 5. Brett says, you deserve it, man. Content is fire. Thank you, Brett. Thanks, man. Wow, the nose on glass 5 is completely different than the nose on any of these others. Like, there is some relationship to the nose of this to the top 2 I have, glasses 2 and 4. I'm trying not to look. I am trying not to look at colors right now. Yeah, like, this has some of the almost youthful intensity of the other 2 glasses, but it does still have these really rich dark fruit notes. It's not as sweet necessarily on the nose, but it's so dark and almost savory a little bit. So this is interesting. So it's an easy top 3 for me and a pretty easy bottom 2, I would say. The top 3 I'm going to have to kind of go between here. I'm not going to order them 100% on the nose, I don't think. Well, why not? Let's just do it quickly. Okay. So I'm going to say glass 4 is ahead of 2. Okay, and glass 5 is ahead of 2. And now 5 against 4. Okay, so I'm going to leave this order. So on the nose, in last place is glass 1, second is glass 3, then 2, then 5, then 4. So let's taste these in my least to most favorite order in terms of nose. We're going to go that order on the palate now. So let's see. Joe says, Russell's 15 is half gone. Yeah, I did sample some of this out, but it's not going well for Russell's 15 in the Leach household. Oh my God. All right, on the palate now, this is glass 1 in last place on the nose. Wow, that is very intense. Very cinnamon forward. Not a lot of age, but the balance is still pretty good. Like, considering what glass number 1's profile is, and that it is like this more youthful, bright kind of profile, it still does show some age to it. It's very bold. So balanced within the profile. The only thing that's maybe a little bit out of balance with this is, I'm going to say this again. I know we've been talking about this note recently with B524 Elijah Craig, but chili pepper spice, like that kind of chili spice is coming out of glass 1 for me. So that's not bad by any means. If that's last place on the nose, then we're doing pretty darn good tonight, you know? All right, on to glass 3 now. Glass 3 is like, this has a funk to it for me. This has like a minerality. Like, it reminds me, actually, there's a little note on the nose of this that reminds me of one of the upcoming River Roots 11.5-year rye picks that is going to be dropping on the channel actually next week. We've had some things move around with our schedule of barrel pick drops. So the River Roots should be dropping next Friday. What is that date going to be? July 12th, I think. So this has that kind of wet rock note to it. Like tobacco almost. Smells good, but yeah, very funky and a little peanut funk in here too. In some ways reminds me of like an older Old Fitz. So, all right, on the palate, this is glass 3. Soft. Wow. A little understated just kind of all the way around on this. Yeah. You know, even though that feels older to me, I actually might prefer glass number 1 on the palate. So, all right. So 1 is intense, kind of chili peppery. 2, a little funky tobacco wet rock. All right. So let's go on to now what is in third place on the nose, glass number 2. Oh my God. So this is like getting into the big league stuff, it feels like. Whatever this is. Mineral like Dickel. So I think here's just a quick tangent in this live stream or video, whether you're live or watching the replay. Sorry, but we're gonna go on a quick tangent. I think people are afraid to talk about minerality in whiskey, in American whiskey, because the minute you say that word, people immediately think George Dickel and they think stay away. I hate that kind of stigma because there's a lot of interesting whiskeys that have that petrichor, wet gravel, wet rock, industrial, rocky texture, you know, chalkiness even. Like there are varying kinds of minerality that you can get on American whiskeys. I don't think it's very frequent that you get that note. It's usually like off-profile, funky barrels. But I think the minute you say that, people think Dickel, kind of like what you're saying. And no, this doesn't remind me of George Dickel. George Dickel is a different thing. You know, it's almost a little chemical note that I get out of that. Okay. All right, so let's taste this one now. Oh my God. The palate on that glass is ridiculous. Oh my God, that's so good. So this, has both elements of the first two that I've tasted so far. It has the really intense nature of glass 1 in last place right now. That like youthful zippiness, but it also has a lot of the aged notes that the other glass had. So this is the best of both worlds. Definitely deserves to be over those two on the palate and on the nose easily. Wow, this is very creamy. Chris, I try, man. You know, I try. A little plug there on the barrel pick. Look, we gotta sell a lot of bottles of the. We've got 2 barrels of MGP. 11.5-year rye coming from River Roots. I think we're gonna sell them just fine. It might not be in 24 hours. It might take it 2 or 3 days. But I think once folks find out they can get 11.5-year rye, 2 very different profiles between the barrels for like $1.15 a piece. It's pretty good value, all things considered. So. All right, so I am in love with like glass 2, nose to palate. Everything is in line, intense, balanced, aged. That is phenomenal whiskey, whatever that is. So let's move on to now what's in second place here. Okay, so this glass has now opened up, and this smells completely funky. This is like, I'm going to throw a note or a comparison out here. I hate to overhype this. It smells like Old Bernheim. It smells like Heaven Hill 17 in some ways. Furniture polish, or not furniture polish, sorry, wood varnish, antiques. If I had to guess what this is, I feel like this is probably the 15-year, but I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to take a sip. Oh, yeah. Jesus. The thing is, though, I mean, I guess this could be the 13 of the generation. I mean, the generations is really the random pour in here. This is much more restrained on the palate actually than this third place glass I've got so far. That's really good, but man, the finish is short. And the nose, when I first went down the line on the nose with this glass, it felt like it had this kind of savoriness and this little bit of tightness to the darker notes. So let's move on to glass 4, which right now I have this in first place because the nose is just so phenomenal. Okay. Wow. That is maybe the oakiest. And I got to give my palate a rest after this. I'll reorder these quickly, go back through for one final tasting before we do the reveal. That may have been the oakiest of the flight. So, and that's probably why I liked it on the nose. I love oak. Whiskeys that smell old and have just like that richness to them. Wow, that is really, really nice on the nose. So I'm going to be curious about where this Camp Nelson F and where the generations are in here. I mean, this bottle to me, I feel like the infinity bottle of all the picks that I've got, just as the wild card in here. I think that's probably in the bottom 2, but I really don't know. And I don't want to try to guess on this because like I am not familiar enough with Camp Nelson F. I don't have a bottle of it. I do need to thank a couple of folks, Jeremy, Will, and Charles for sending these samples my way to make this happen because I don't have all of these bottles. So I'm not as familiar with them, and it's not as it's not as tempting for me to try to guess what's what in this flight. So anyways, I hope I've stalled long enough now. Let's get back to this and do like a quick reordering. Just hitting things together here. All right, I'm going to retaste glass 3, which was in second place. Yep. Back to glass 1. Glass 1, I'm going to put it over 3. It's very intense. Whatever this is, it has youth and it has I don't want to say youth. No, I kind of do. It feels a little bit younger, but the palate is so big and bold that when it goes up against glass 3, yeah, I think I got to do that. All right, so let's focus on our top 3 now. We've got our bottom 2 in order. Excuse me. All right. Do a quick nosing. Jeez. So the nuttiest of the bunch in the top 3 is actually the glass that I have so far in first place, glass 4. Interestingly enough, it is the nuttiest of the bunch. Glass 2 in third place. Has a really, really nice nose to it. It's so balanced. It falls a little bit short on the palate for me. It's delicate. Like that's the thing about it. It feels delicate. I'm going to compare this directly to glass 2. So third place versus first place so far. Wow. Glass 4. Oh my gosh. Even though it's nuttier on the nose. Oh. I think that has to be over glass 2. So now the question is, where does glass 5, which is currently in second place, where does this fit in? Is it in second or is it in first? Let me get a little water. Thank you to the 154 people hanging out right now. It's a fun blind, you know. I feel like weird pressure on this blind because I think a lot of people have their preconceptions about all of these, you know. I mean, maybe not Russell's 15 yet, but the folks that will get that bottle and might revisit this video, everyone's going to have their preconceptions, and they'll probably have tasted, you know, oh, I've tasted 2 of them, or I've tasted 4 of the things he's tasting, or 3, whatever, and imagine their own order. So I do feel some pressure, you know, doing this. All right. Let's do glass 5 versus glass 4. So 5. So 5 on the nose continues to get better. As this thing sits out, it gets better. But the nose was not this good at the beginning of the flight. You know, I love the notes in this glass, but objectively speaking, besides my love for these tasting notes, which remind me of really old school whiskey, it is not as creamy on the palate. It is more savory. It's more tannic. It's more oaky in a tannic way, not in a sweet way. But I love the notes. So let's go back now to glass 4, which is in first place so far. It's so interesting. Like glass 4 is a breath of fresh air after drinking that because it's creamy, it's mouthwatering, it's so sweet. And, you know, I would say this is probably more balanced than glass 5. Big Potato says, better question, how many bottles can you get out of 300 barrels? What is a full barrel? 226 bottles or something? 236? I want to say that's right. Or is it 266? It's something. It's 220, 30, or 66. So if you do what? 53 gallons to liters is 200 liters. Yeah, so it's going to be, I believe it's going to be 266 bottles, right? Divided by 0.75. 266 in a full barrel. Let's just round down to 250 times 300 is going to be 75,000. So there could be, I mean, if the math was right on all the rumors flying around and stuff, there could be 75,000 bottles which is a good, I mean, that's a big release, you know? Okay. So, stalling again, trying to give my palate just a little bit of a break. I'm going to go back to glass 2 in third place. Fatty. It's like bacon fat. Glass 2. So it is more reserved and more understated, but my God, is it just like a super full profile for that? Like I think I said delicate earlier, and it is delicate on like the entry to the palate when it first hits your tongue, but then it just spreads out like in a very fatty kind of way. I'm just doing a different order now of tasting these top 3. Glass 4 in first place so far. Dark fruit. A little sour nuttiness on that, but it's more coating, more enveloping in glass 2. And finally, we'll taste glass 5 one more time before we call this. Bourbon United says, there's a bug in here. Darn it. Oh. Guess we will see. Rumor we heard from a credible source at Wild Turkey is 50,000. Then that means there were some really short barrels. If there were, 900 truly in the mix, then some of those barrels would have like 40 or 50 bottles in them, if that's the case. There's only 50,000. All right, last sip. I got to stand by this. This order held. I think this is the nosing order with the bottom 2 just flipped. We're going to hold this order. I will hazard a guess at this, but I didn't pick this based on what I thought they were. So let's start with last place. I think last place it had some funkiness to it, like I talked about earlier, like some of these tobacco and mineral kind of notes. I think it's probably the Infinity bottle, if I had to guess, but I don't really know. So let's see what's in last place. Yeah, it is. It is the kind of Russell's single barrel pick Infinity bottle. Very good, but and actually shows some decent age to it. But I think the proof probably just didn't hold up amongst these others. It's creamy. It's got some chocolatey notes to it, like milk chocolate. It's good stuff. So in fourth place is glass 1. Now this one had the most just spice, brash spice, chili pepper. I've never had Generations. If I had to guess, I would say this is probably Generations. It's so balanced though, even with that intensity. Oh, it's very good. But it doesn't have that like special wow factor to it. Let's see what this is. Oh, wow. I didn't see that coming. On the finish, great oak, great funkiness. This is Camp Nelson F in fourth place. This drank the hottest out of the bunch. I don't know what proof Camp Nelson F is. My sample I don't have a label for my sample. I actually will. This is your sample right here. I didn't put the label on it. Wow. Very, very spicy. Great whiskey, but it, in this flight, for some reason, didn't have that wow factor to me. Okay, on to glass 2 then. Well, I got to rethink, because I would have said that glass 2 was Camp Nelson in my mind. Like, probably it made sense. I have no clue then what this is. It's probably Russell's 13 at this point, but no, it's Generations. Wow. So glass 2, which I thought was pretty strangely delicate in this flight and fatty, and it showed great age, was Generations, which, look, for the price of that bottle, $400 SRP or whatever it was, it damn well better do pretty well in this flight, right? Oh, CNF is 117. Okay, so it's a little higher than I would have thought. Generations is great. Very, very good. Glass 5, look, based on this profile, this has to be Russell's 15. Yeah, It's Russell's 15. So here's the thing, and this is what was killing me this whole flight, which means our winner is Russell's 13 Batch 2. This is what's killing me in this flight, is it's so much down to preference. Like, Russell's 15, the issues that I had with it in my review, spoiler alert, you can pause now and go check it out if you haven't seen it, that it was closed off on the nose, and that it drinks, like, it drinks interestingly, but it doesn't hit the back of your tongue. It has a finish, but as it rolls back and develops, it just misses the back of your tongue. It's just a weird sensation. It tastes like a dusty. It has these amazing dusty notes. But just because it has those notes doesn't mean it's a better whiskey. If you like those notes and you want to look past its kind of objective, let's call them flaws for right now, then that's fine. And some or maybe even the majority of people would put this over the Russell's 13 in this flight. To me, though, while I love those notes and I would love to have a case of that whiskey to drink, it's just not a perfect whiskey, you know? Sorry. It smells great. You do not get whiskey that smells like this nowadays. The closest thing to this flavor profile with regards to, like, it's probably not an exact match, but with how it comes across to me and what it reminds me of, the closest thing is the Old Fitz 13 VVS, you know, special edition they release in the gift shop. Because it's a dusty, because it's distilled in 99 and it's, you know, it's old. It was tanked for 10 years. This gives me the same thing that does. In a little less of a sweet way, more of a savory, more of a like 1960s way. A lot of 1960s distillate back in those days had this like savory quality to them, where when you hit the 80s and the 90s, everything got a little bit more butterscotchy and sweet. This is more like 60s distillate in a lot of ways. But I like the sweetness. I like the balance. And so Glass 4, while it is a little bit nuttier, it is Russell's 13 Batch 2. It's just more balanced to me. It's a great whiskey. Now, which one am I going to reach for more often? Russell's 15, because the profile is more novel to me. It's more specific. You don't get it ever nowadays. And the fact that a modern release of modern distilled whiskey, not something that was tanked for 10 years, can taste this way is really cool. But I don't know if it's the water they put in this to proof it down that kind of made it fall apart a little bit, or what the case may be. Excuse me, but objectively speaking, I have to give it to Russell's 13, whereas I'm still going to reach for Russell's 15 more often, because subjectively, I like those flavor notes better. Would your blind be different based on different Russell's 13 batches? I actually think if you threw in Russell's... I'm only super familiar with batches 1 through 3. If you threw in batch 1, it would probably be even better than batch 2 in this blind for me. But batch 3, I could see falling to third place because it's a little bit more flat and oaky. I could see Generations moving up and Russell's 15 moving up as well. So no, I don't think all batch... And look, I've tasted samples of batches 4 and 5, and one of those, I don't remember which one, was, in my mind, just not very good. So I feel like if I had whichever batch that was in this blind, that would be in 4th or 5th place for me. So this is interesting, but Mike is killing his Russell's 13 Batch 2 during the stream, which is great whiskey. This is interesting. It's like objective versus subjective, and I'm trying to level everything in my head as much as I can. But when you do this blind, it was pretty obvious early on which one Russell's 15 was. But even so, even though I love it so much, I'm not going to just give that the bid to first place, because I don't think it's, the best constructed whiskey. And I said that in my review without any comparisons in that review. But it's good. It is good. Rarebird, what's up, man? Yeah, they are all winners. It's just like right now we're comparing an A+ to a B+. You know, we're in a very narrow band in this blind. Hell, I mean, even last place, an infinity bottle of Picks. Pretty good whiskey. All right, so that's going to do it, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. On your way out, please hit that like button. Go check out the Bourbon Junkies. I think they should be live now, unless Dan is 30 minutes late like he was when we were streaming a few weeks ago. just giving him crap. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe. Check out the Patreon, $5, $10, $25, or $50 per month. Lots of, actually, I think the $50 tier is full. So we only have a few more spots we're going to open up sometime in the future. Our next barrel pick drops July 12th. Next Friday is going to be 2 barrels of 11.5-year MGP rye called Chunky Monkey and Funky Monkey. 2 very cool barrels, $115 a piece. 2 weeks after that, July 26th, we're dropping 2 barrels of Evernorth rye, which is 6-year Sagamore, 52% rye whiskey. That stuff is incredible. And then, you know, we're off until the end of August with a Beam-sourced bourbon from River Roots. But hope you'll check out the Patreon. Thank you, guys. Cheers. And I'm going to wrap up with the winner tonight, Russell's Reserve Batch 2, 13-year-old. Cheers, and I'll see you soon here on Drums and Drams.